What family has the longest documented line of succession in history, all the way back until ancient times? Looking at family trees and genealogy has become popular in recent years, I think partially due to so many companies offering DNA analysis of people's family history and websites like ancestry.com that make it easier to look up old records on people. But most people can't reliably track their ancestors through documented records more than a few hundred years or so. Some can go back to the Renaissance or late medieval period, and even less, but some can go back to maybe the 11th or 10th century. But you pretty much have to be from a wealthy or noble family of some sort to get any kind of records that go back that far. A lot of people, maybe even most people or everyone, probably descend from some famous person or family, even if they don't have a documented record of it. It could be through some concubine of little significance or a bastard line, or through a cadet branch of a noble family that lost relevance over time. The thing is that the kingdoms and empires of history come and go. Royal families get overthrown, sometimes a ruler has no children, or it's a patriarchal line and the ruler only had daughters and another family marries into the family, starting a new family name. Times change, economic conditions change. Later generations of a family might not be able to maintain the wealth of earlier generations. There's a lot of reasons people might lose track of a famous ancestor in their family tree. And family names that pass on from one generation to the next in general weren't all that common until recent centuries. Prior to that, people oftentimes only had one name, or if they had a second name, it was usually associated with either a profession, where they live, or were just known as the son or daughter of whoever their father was. So not the kind of names that necessarily stay the same from one generation to the next. So unless you're from a family that is historic nobility, or an old money family, as they say, it's unlikely you'd even be able to document your family tree back into even the medieval period, much less ancient times. But I've come across one family that does have documentation going back at least 80 generations. But before I say who that family is, I want to mention a couple of possible alternatives to the title of oldest documented family lineage. One is the Lurie family, which has a claim of descent from King David in Israel. If accurate, this one would be the oldest one, going back to around 1000 BC. But it's a mix of historical and religious records. So maybe the Lurie family is the oldest lineage? But there's another family with more consistently documented records. But before I get to that one, another honorable mention. The Japanese imperial family has records going back to around the same time as the other family I've been alluding to all this time. But the earlier portions of the imperial family account are mixed with historical records and what may be legendary figures, making it harder to document who the earliest historical member of the family is. Alright. So, what family does have the longest consistently documented family genealogy? Again, I'm just going by documented records here, not DNA or oral traditions or legends. In some cases, oral traditions or legends are true. Again, like I said earlier, most people probably do have a famous ancestor somewhere in their genealogy, even if they don't have a documented record of it. But a family that does have a long history of documented descendants is the family of Confucius. You've probably heard of him before. He was a famous ancient Chinese philosopher and politician. He was born in the 5th century BC, so around 2,500 years ago. This guy, Kong Su-chang, is the 79th generation descendant of the main line of the Confucius family tree. He holds some ceremonial political title in Taiwan, and apparently has a son of his own, so the 80th generation of Confucius' main line is already around. And that's just the main line. There are other lines in the Confucius family tree. At this point, Confucius has had millions of descendants. So that's just something I found to be interesting. History is interesting to me, and coming across a family with such a long history of documented family history was intriguing to me. So what do you think? Do you think the Lurie family or the Japanese imperial family have a better claim to the oldest documented lineage? Or do you know of any other family with even older documented lineage? In some cases, the Confucian genealogy may skip to a nephew instead of a son, and some people may not consider the oldest documented sources as verifiable. But from what I can tell, the family of Confucius seems to be the best documented, and was documented well enough to get the Guinness World Record for longest family tree. Again, I wasn't really considering oral traditions or legends here, but oral traditions and legends can be true. Everybody descends from somebody. You probably descend from someone famous, even if you don't know it. Those are my thoughts on that. Thanks for listening.